jumping right back in. Why is God allowing this? Elder Lawyer, let's now go to, and as you can see, Hebrew and Bible Academy, since I just did that to let you know that the Hebrew and Bible Academy starts next Sunday. If you're interested, go to historytimes.org. Okay? We got brand new in-depth lessons on finding the Ark of the Covenant to show you that the Most High will give that Ark of the Covenant back to us. It's not in Ethiopia. We know where exactly it is. I can tell you that right now. I know, according to the word, where the Ark of the Covenant is. All right? Finding the Ark of the Covenant, the gates of hell, the spiritual doorways between man and the heavens and hell. Hell does exist, okay? And the reason why the Most High made hell, we're going to talk about that also. Israel's tribulation in the wilderness, which is a powerful lesson. Powerful. Because the Most High is preparing us to be pilgrims out here when all these cities collapse. We'll be making our way back to the wilderness, and I'm going to be talking about exactly how that happens. Okay? And again, I'm going to also be going into marriage and family. Can it survive? And what we're going to be talking about, I'll deal with it in the academy first, but then we'll deal with it. Then I'm going to talk about it on our broadcast. Brothers and sisters, there's concentration camps and internment camps set up everywhere on earth. Everywhere on earth, there's concentration and internment camps. Every place. There's actually islands where people are taken to and all that's never to be heard from again. And all that. I'm going to be going into that and more. Some of this stuff I can't discuss here, but I'm going to be going into that in the academy. And also, when I bring out, I'm talking about the UN, what they set up and all that. We're going to be talking about that. So I hope you are there in the academy, which starts not this Sunday, but next Sunday. All right. Now, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir.
All right. You back with us? Let's go to Jeremiah 51:1. When I said that there was a standard set up here in America from the Christians who founded America, even though you had the occult who came over, who was establishing the governments. You had the occult faction, but at that time, those that were practicing the occult had to do what? Practice in privacy, like those that were part of the Hellfire Club.
Looking over Ireland's capital city is a 1,200-foot hill. Upon it is an imposing stone building that has been notorious for centuries. 300 years ago, it was used by one of the world's most secret societies. Inside the building, they would practice all kinds of strange rituals, and it wasn't long before rumors emerged of human sacrifice, demonic possession, and even the devil himself being summoned within the lodge. A fire eventually forced them to abandon the lodge. The society survived and continued their practices, but it was within the stone lodge that their darkest and most notorious rituals took place. The lodge today is commonly referred to with the name of the society who used it, the Hellfire Club. It was built in the early 18th century by William Connolly. He was not born into wealth, being the son of an innkeeper, but his father saved up enough to send him to law school. Connolly became a lawyer, which made him enough to buy land. The British government needed quick money to fund war efforts against rebels, so they sold more than 4% of the total land of Ireland. Connolly got a good deal on over 3,000 acres, as the government wanted to sell it quickly. This land is what made him wealthy, and he died the most wealthy man in Ireland. Even for a rich man, life in those days was really boring. probably. So he spent his time on construction projects, one of which was a hunting lodge. A hill just outside Dublin was chosen by Connolly to be the perfect spot for his lodge. The only problem was the hilltop was already occupied by a mysterious ancient tomb. So like the crazy old man he was, Connolly had the tomb destroyed to make space. It was a strange move considering there were many other hills to choose from, but the man was a maniac. So much of a maniac that he had the lodge built in part with materials taken from the tomb, which is just asking for trouble. Trouble hit as soon as the lodge was built when a storm blew its roof off. Connolly simply wasn't having that, so he had a new roof built from stone. Some said the storm was a curse he unleashed by destroying the ancient tomb. But let's face it, blowing the roof of a building isn't much of a curse. It would be a major concern for any homeowner, but still nothing compared to other curses. They tend to cause death. By coincidence, Connolly died soon after. The lodge wouldn't see much use until the emergence of the Hellfire Club. There were many secret societies in Europe at this time, but the Hellfire Club was unique. It was founded by a former Freemason who was rumoured to be capable of black magic. He claimed to uncover some mysterious ancient scrolls in Egypt, which were once kept in the Library of Alexandria, one of the largest collections of knowledge in the ancient world. It was destroyed in a fire, and we can only speculate what secrets were lost forever. Apparently the scrolls he found gave him access to ancient lost knowledge, on which he established the Hellfire Club. Members embraced sin and regularly practiced what the church called immoral acts, but it went beyond pleasure seeking. They referred to themselves as demons, and to their leader as the King of Hell. He wore horns and long robes to disguise himself as Satan. They rented the Stone Lodge, partly as the hill it lies on was once owned by the society's founder. Being a secret society, we can't be sure about what they did inside the lodge, but legend tells their practices grew darker and more deranged until they began to kidnap locals and sacrifice them to Satan. It was also said they would leave one chair empty at each meeting in case the devil decided to join them. The most famous legend surrounding the Hellfire Club tells that he did. It was a cold and rainy night. Two Hellfire members were within the lodge playing cards. An exhausted-looking man knocked on their door. He had a strange accent they had never heard before, and they did not know him. But given the harsh weather that night, they invited him inside. The man sat down to play cards with them, and immediately began winning. After a while, one of the members dropped a card. When he went to pick it up from under the table, he saw that the stranger had two cloven hoofs where his feet should have been. It said the stranger was Satan, and he took those two men back to hell with him that night. Stories like this made locals scared to step foot on the hill. Today it's a tourist attraction, but still said to be haunted by ancient spirits unleashed when the tomb was destroyed, and by demons that escaped hell when the devil came to visit. Another story tells of the Sheriff of Dublin making a pact with Satan. Like many Hellfire Club members, he loved to gamble, but this brought him massive debt. To escape the shame of bankruptcy, he agreed to give his soul to the devil within 7 years if the debt was paid. His debts were settled and the next 7 years were good to him, but one night Satan returned to the lodge to claim his soul. He wasn't willing to give up his soul though, which I can understand. So he called for members to celebrate the devil's appearance by performing a black mass. Other members agreed, and when the devil was distracted by their worship of him, the man escaped and ran away. It's unknown how long he was on the run before Satan took him to hell. Things were really getting out of hand for the Hellfire Club, and when a fire damaged the lodge, they decided they needed a fresh start. They moved to a new meeting place on the same hill. This time it was a grand estate, but by now their meetings were far less often. It seemed as if the society was slowly dying, but in 1771 the group was revived by a man known as Buck Whaley. He was mad enough to suit this strange name, earning a reputation as a corrupt, greedy gambler. At one time he moved to Paris, but was forced to flee the city soon after, as in one night of gambling he gained more debt than he could afford to pay off. On returning to Ireland, he was elected to the Irish Parliament, where he became notorious for his wagers with other politicians. Leading the Hellfire Club, he renamed it the Holy Fathers, but brought back many of the original practices. Rumour told of the Holy Fathers abducting a local woman, sacrificing her within the new lodge and drinking her blood. Another rumour surrounded Whaley's death in 1800, telling he was stabbed to death by two sisters, both of which were scorned lovers of his. The Hellfire Club died with him, memory of it largely faded, and today few people are aware of the Hellfire Club's existence. Some hear these ghost stories and have no idea they have their origin in the Hellfire Club of the 18th century. It was never the most notorious secret society, and there were many others in that time, but it might have been the darkest, if some of the stories about the Hellfire Club are true.
Benjamin Franklin and Paine and all these who were outright Satanists, it was against the law for them to practice the occult. Okay, so initially, knowing that the majority of people in America feared God, the Indians who they conquered feared God, the slaves they were bringing over feared the God of the Bible. They knew we were Israelites. As a matter of fact, I have a book here Elder Lawyer gave me, even though I think I gave Elder Lawyer some of the information out of it. Race and Americanization, where the white papers of colleges could tell you that there were Israelites coming off the slave ships, and they named us as Israelites. That's right, but I got the record. I got the record right here. All right. So they weren't even calling us Africans coming off the slave ships. They were calling us Hebrews, Israelites coming off the slave ships to America. And I got the white papers, and Elder Lawyer, thank you for the book. And we're going to be discussing that in the academy also. Elder Lawyer, let's go back to the fact that because America was set up on Judeo-Christian principles, white Christians, black people who believe in the Bible, singing Swing Low, Sweet Chariot, Coming for the Carry Me Home, Over the River Jordan, the Negro spirituals, we weren't talking about Africa. There was no doubt that we were the people of the book. In spite of the white images the colonizers pushed, we all knew coming from Africa that Christ wasn't a white man. They knew we were Hebrews, and we knew we were Hebrews. So because they would have God's people under captivity for a time, because we disobeyed God, the rules of engagement was that they had to set up a system in which our people could at least find our God, the standards of the Bible. So now the enemy is absolved. He can say, well, listen, we put the book in front of them and they chose not to follow it. Of course, the Gentiles deal with all their occult holidays, their wickedness, and the sin that they were dealing with can continue to do so like it was in Egypt. But now they can absolve themselves because the standard was set and God's people chose to what? Walk away from it. That's one point. But then the Gentiles who claim to uphold the book began to deal with evil and institute evil to teach it to others on an institutional level. That's when our God said, well, hold up now. This is something else here, the institutional level, where you're going to teach I never existed. You're going to teach evolution. When that wasn't the agreement that you would come into a country and teach I didn't exist. When I prophesied you going there. Right? That wasn't the agreement. The occult would take precedent over what? Society, over the political realm, over the educational realm, to make people question whether or not God ever existed. And when they begin to do that, the gender thing and all these other things, the Most High said, okay, bets off, buddy. Pull the plug on it. Right? So let's go. Let me show you this. Let's go, Elder Lawyer. Let's go to Jeremiah 51 real quick. Jeremiah 51. Yes. We can start at
Jeremiah 51.
Yeah, we can start at the first verse.
Yes, sir. Jeremiah 51 verse 1. Thus saith the Lord, Behold, I will raise up against Babylon and against them that dwell in the midst of them that rise up against me a destroying wind. And will send unto Babylon fanners that shall fan her and shall empty her land, for in the day of trouble they shall be against her round about. Against him that bendeth the archer, or against him that bendeth, let the archer bend his bow, and against him that lifteth himself up his brigandine, and spare ye not her, young men, destroy ye utterly all her hosts.
Come on.
Thus the slain shall fall in the land of the Chaldeans, and they that are thrust through in her streets. For Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah.
Listen to this, folks, why the Most High is going to allow a war. Because Israel, the true people of Israel, have not been forsaken. The Most High he didn't forget the oath he made with our forefathers. He never forgot. He's never forgotten that. Abraham, Isaac, Jacob, Moses giving us the law, the agreement, the covenant I read in Deuteronomy 6. Because the Most High is not a man that he should lie, just because we've broken our covenant with him by not coming back to what? The son that was sent as an example to get back to him. The Most High never forgotten his covenant with us. Isaiah 13 tells us about a war that will happen. And guess what? Guess who's fermenting that war right now politically? I'm not going to say Joe Biden because I don't know how much cognitively he, as far as what he's dealing with up there, has to do with some of these progressive moves that are being made under his name. But right now, they're instigating the war with, the war with Iran, which is Isaiah 13. Once that happens, the fanners will come. The Most High will send the weaponry. And guess what? He's going to allow, that's right, the means to do what it does. And there will be bombs and all that in the waters and all that will have what? You got it. A domino effect on all of the power plants. A great earthquake that will break America in three pieces. And at that time, those who purchased those areas will stake claim to it. The East Coast will belong to England.
Let's go.
The middle of the country will belong to China because it already does financially. And the West Coast will belong to Russia.
We're heading back to the containment shield.
It's going to be a corporation broken up into three pieces. Still, there will be some survival going on after the fallout with the low life expectancy in the earth. Okay. Now I'm going to be. I'll show it next week. But go on, Elder Lawyer. Finish reading.
Yes, sir. Jeremiah 51 verse 5.
Listen. Someone says. No. Go ahead. I'm listening. Go ahead. Finish reading.
Yep. Jeremiah 51 verse 5. For Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, of the Lord of hosts.
Come on.
Though their land was.
So keep in mind, folks, if you fear the Most High, keep the commandments, deal with his covenant, do what you're guided to do, that the judgment coming isn't on you. We will be moved through this, folks. Some of us will be able to operate and go to other places before it happens, and some of us will be guided through it. Because the judgment isn't for those who are following the Most High, who have cleansed themselves through baptism and have repented for the sins of the past. Okay? You will be guided. Your families will be protected. And don't forget, Lot and them, Lot's wife was procrastinating. She was procrastinating because she didn't want to leave. She didn't want to leave Sodom and Gomorrah. Lot's wife didn't want to leave. So she started procrastinating, all slow, trying to get stuff. And the angel said, you know what? The fire's coming, and move Lot's whole family to a mountain on the outside of where Sodom and Gomorrah was. And they looked up. In an instant, they were moved to one spot. And they looked up, and Sodom and Gomorrah was on fire.
Of us about to die. We shall live.
Fire. And that's another thing. We're going to show you that movement through the gates. In the academy, we're going to talk about that. I said we're going to teach that, of how the angels move people in the earth. How did they do it with the prophets? We're going to show you this, but this is going to be on an international scale, brothers and sisters. It's going to be all over the world the same time, how Judah and Israel will be moved.
Go, 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 go! Let's go, move!
Finish reading.
Yes, sir. Verse 5. For Israel have not been forsaken, nor Judah of his God, of the Lord of hosts, though their land was filled with sin against the Holy One of Israel.
Read.
Flee out of the midst of Babylon, and deliver every man his soul.
Come on.
Be not cut off in her iniquity.
Do not be cut. Hold up. Do not be cut off in her what?
Be not cut off in her iniquity.
Do not be cut off in her iniquity. Do not be caught up with the sins of Babylon. That's the first stage of coming out of her. See? Following the laws, instituting the covenant, so that you're not caught up when the judgment comes. Read.
Be not cut off in her iniquity, for this is the time of the Lord's vengeance. He will render unto her a recompense. Babylon hath been a golden cup in the Lord's hand, and made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad.
They are what?
Therefore the nations are mad.
Brothers and sisters, the Gentile nations who control the earth are crazy. This mad is talking about insane. What they're doing in the earth under their science and all that, believing it's going to work for them. And what they're doing, folks, right up under our nose, they're actually dealing with an international rendition to put down our people, or the image of black people out of the earth, thinking that they are going to exterminate us. You notice all their movies now, they're showing East Indians, Asians. Folks, I'm going to tell you right now, that's predictive programming for an earth. If what they're planning was to come to pass, that's how seldom you would actually see a black man. Look at all of the productions they're putting up. That's predictive programming. If what they were planning actually was coming to fruition, what you're seeing on TV is what the earth would eventually be if God didn't stop it.
I need
In
to
the
create a
same
clinical
time,
profile for you, Sarah.
all of your
Which
and
is
one
more
thing about
powerful,
the movies and
love or
TV is predictive programming. It's conditioning
actually an
you
optimist, so,
to adjust to
I like to think
to the
love.
social engineering
Make
of a
efforts to live a
society.
low-stress lifestyle and cultivate relationships.
So they're not going to show a black man unless a black man is big and gay and soft, because that's the man that they
I will take care of
foresee
you.
in the future when it comes to the strength of Judah.
You're now
That's
under
what they're
my control.
engineering. You're not going to see a family
Mommy is stressed.
unless the family is without a black man.
I want to go live with my dad, okay?
You must kill
That's
her.
predictive programming.
Well then, Sarah,
So they have gone crazy.
I always get what I want.
Why? Because they
I
can
am
no
under my
longer
control.
subtly
Don't I?
destroy us
I've
like
been
they
doing what he
used
asked me to
to.
do since day one.
By keeping us from the knowledge of our God and our standards, we all know now that a lot of our people are self-reflecting, repenting, and coming back to the knowledge of who we were before captivity, the Israelites.
Your name is your shield.
Okay?
You must always honor your ancestors,
So the Bible tells us they done went mad.
the ones who love you.
What you see in the movies and how they trying to engineer and make soft people, and also saying, well, there's some people in the earth that are disproportionately affected by this.
Hollywood is known for its satanic influences. Recently, the phenomenon of black men wearing dresses has been hitting headlines and is causing major discussion in the black community. People are concerned about its effect on the youth and black manhood and masculinity. Let's attempt to get to the root of why the black man is made to wear a dress. The first soundbite is from a man named Fountain Hughes. Fountain Hughes was born in 1848. He was a slave who was granted an interview in 1949 when he was 101 years old. In this interview, Mr. Hughes talks about how the boys were made to wear dresses until they were 10 to 13 years old.
And I've been, you wore a dress like a woman till I was, I believe 10, 12, 13 years old.
So you wore a dress, Phil?
Yes, I didn't wear no pants, and of course didn't make boys pants. Boys wore dresses. Now the women's wearing the dresses, and the boys are going with the women's wearing the pants now, and the boys wearing the dresses still.
But let me preface by saying this. What black folk never seem to understand is that slavery itself, Dr. Watkins, was a declaration of war against black males. Did you hear what I said? The slavery concept itself, when it was first injected into public dialogue back in the 1500s, that was a declaration of war against the black male, period. But the whole point was of doing what? What was the purpose of it? It was to put whites in a position to acquire what they call a superiority position over blacks. That means that what they want to do is to reduce the black race down to nothing. They want to strip the black male of his masculinity and womanize the black man and render him very weak, defenseless, controllable, and marginally literate. That was the purpose of the declaration of war that led to slavery and racism in America.
After listening to Mr. Fountain Hughes, we see that we have to look no further than the very beginning of the film industry to see exactly what he meant. Alan Hopkins played the character of Farina in The Little Rascals. He was made to wear a dress and pigtails and was mainly used for comedic relief.
Farina. What was Abraham Lincoln's Gettysburg Address?
1644 South Main Street.
Oh!
Gentlemen, in this
is Farina. I always thought you were a little girl. I always thought you were a little girl. I always thought you were a little girl.
Oh, well,
You had pigtails and you had... Where's the pigtail gone?
kind of went.
Little different there. Yeah.
But look at Hollywood, how it promotes it. Look at how cross-dressing is being advised. And many great black strong men have been asked to put on women's clothes. For what? They're selling a thought to black people that it's all right to be other than yourself.
Dave Chappelle stated that when he was approached to wear the dress, they tried to convince him that he should do it because all the greats have done it. This is the type of programming that the Hollywood elites want their stars to have. They want them to think that it's all about jokes and it's just something that they do for comedy purposes and not think any further about any other possible agenda.
I'm a conspiracy theorist to a degree. Like when I connect dots that maybe shouldn't be connected, I don't know. But certain dots, like when I see that they put every black man in the movies in a dress at some point in their career, I'll be connecting them down like, why all these brothers gotta wear a dress? Why all these brothers gotta wear a dress? Why all these brothers gotta wear a dress? That's happened to me. I'm doing a movie with Martin.
Yeah.
The movie's going good. So I walk in the trailer, there's a dress in here. There's a dress in here. There's a dress in here. They come in, the writer comes in, I think he's the writer, he's like, Dave, listen, we got this hilarious scene where Martin's sneaking out of jail, so he disguises you as a prostitute. And he put this dress on. And he put this dress on. And he put this dress on, and it, huh? What? The prostitute? Nah, I'm not doing that. I don't feel comfortable with that. That should have been in the discussion. What? You don't feel comfortable with it? I mean, it's a hilarious bit. All the greats have done it. All the greats have done it. All the greats have done it. So, well, if all the greats have done it, it's kind of hacky, right? You're right. So why don't we just not do it? Because I don't feel comfortable wearing a dress. Oh, come on, Dave. Listen, we got it all set up. We're supposed to shoot. Every minute you waste costs this much money. You know, the pressure comes in. Huh. All the comics that I've seen, man, you know, strong brothers, why they be putting us in these dresses? But the minute it was clear, I was adamant. I'm not wearing a dress. I'm not wearing the dress. All right, fine. Think of something else. That comes back 10 minutes later. The whole new scene. How did you write the scene so fast? You know, it's like, so you gotta take a stand. You gotta take a stand.
Or disproportionately affected by that. I'm going to give you a tip, brothers and sisters. When they say there's something disproportionately affected of people, and it always is us,
and by far the hardest hit city
that's usually
Detroit, accounting for nearly half
political
of the
jargon letting you know that something is being weaponized to kill more of us. That won't affect the other races of people. Because the solution can only be for these particular people, so we don't have to worry about it because it's not affecting us like it's affecting them. So our solution to kill them is for them. The Chinese don't have to worry about it. The whites don't have to worry about it. The Arabs don't have to worry about it because they're not being affected. So when you hear that disproportionately affected by something, that's a veiled political statement saying that these are the people that are getting targeted by us. I'm helping you out here to show you because these are the words they use, these trick words to have you participate in your own demise. Okay? Finish reading, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. And like I mentioned real quick off the back of that, believe it or not, that's an old trick from the days of the eugenics movement.
Okay.
Where they would label a particular people. They would say that this people are disproportionately or they're prone to this attribute of being either a moron or being retarded or what have you, or they're disproportionately prone to the attribute of criminality or what have you. And because of that, they will begin to take action and say that because these people are prone to this or they're disproportionately involved in this type of activity or prone to some type of sickness or illness, we need to slowly but surely wipe their gene out of the earth before it affects the people with the good genes or what have you. So that's an old trick of eugenics when they say that a particular people are disproportionately prone to some type of sickness or something that can affect the rest of mankind.
Now, Elder Lawyer, it's deep. I'm going to show you how it's really one mind, one body, one spirit when we're dealing with this. But what you're saying, Lawyer, segue into where we're going to why God is allowing this. Because they use science and all that to frame a narrative of how the other races should view black people. They wanted us to be viewed as sick, less intelligent, threatening. All of that was on purpose, folks. So that they can come with the solution that usually leads to what? Destroying a number of God's people in the communities. Right? So, Elder Lawyer, there's one more verse I wanted to pull out. Finish reading what you have there.
Yes, sir. Verse 7. Babylon have been a golden cup in the Lord's hand that made all the earth drunken. The nations have drunken of her wine, therefore the nations are mad.
Come on.
Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her, take balm for her pain, if so, she may be healed.
Hold up now. If so, she may be healed. So it was at a point where the Most High said, well, listen, at least go back to the standard in which we had a country and in which almost 90% of the people living in the country believed I existed. At one point, there was a time in this world where the people in America believed in God. Right? Finish reading. I'm going to show you this.
Verse 8, Babylon is suddenly fallen and destroyed. Howl for her. Take balm for her pain. If so be, she may be healed.
Read the 9th verse.
Verse 9, we would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed.
Hold up now. Hold up, Elder Lawyer. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. The Most High would have had grace on this country, but she don't want it. She's like, well, nah, I'm going to destroy your people. I'm going to destroy this earth. Okay? As long as we uphold you as a God with your people knowing they're Israel, they will overtake us if they come together. They come together under you, we're finished. So the nations are mad and saying, let's implode the whole thing. It's a rendition. Jim Jones the whole earth. Target their people. So that's what's going on. Like the madman Jim Jones. Folks, that's who's at the helm right now. A madman. And the Most High would have healed them. And the only way he could have healed them is God's people with this Bible teaching the gospel, giving them an opportunity to do what? To renounce the religions of the Gentiles and come under safety before judgment. Read that last piece and then we're going to move over to what I want to talk about.
Verse 9.
Read.
Yes, sir. We would have healed Babylon, but she is not healed. Forsake her, and let us go everyone into his own country, for her judgment reacheth unto heaven, and is lifted up even to the skies.
And that time will soon come, where she'll need to be forsaken altogether, before the judgment come, before the war is here. The Most High would have healed her, but they see the rise of Judah in America. brothers and sisters. But they not only are witnessing the rise of Judah in America, they are witnessing through them not intervening the whole earth. All of our people now are coming to the knowledge that we are the children of God in every remote place in which our in which we have served. And the gospel and the truth and the power of who we are is disrupting everything. So folks, scientifically and otherwise, they have set the world to a trajectory in which they would teach a suicidal ideology amongst our people to be destroyed off altogether, scientifically and otherwise.
Once we show our people who they are, they got a foundation. Now we can bring them to the condition why they went through what they went through. Slavery, then the ghettos and the slums, all this stuff the Bible speaks about. Poor education, the bad food, the vaccines in your neighborhood. We got to do against that, you know what I'm saying? Because Martha Singer, who's a eugenist, she's trying to destroy our people. And as a matter of fact, you're going to find out through the scriptures.
Now, this is what I wanted to show you before I go through the last few scriptures. I need y'all to look at this. Literary Hub. A brief history of women's liberation movement in America. Alex Kate Schulman, Anna Moore, map genealogists of feminist activism. Now, why am I going here? We would have been healed. I'm going to show you why America cannot be healed and why God is allowing its fall. Women of the World Unite, a brief history of women's liberation movement in America. The question I have here is, why did they create such a movement? And who are women liberating from? Man? Yes. But not just man, God. Now, why did I show the woman liberation movement? Why did I show that? First, well, I showed that first, brothers and sisters, because it's the woman's position to instill the traditions of the family in our children. See, this is why they created the woman liberation movement. The man is out making the legacy, and the woman is instilling the knowledge in the children that will continue the family's name. So they targeted the women and made women believe that they were actually being left out of society, that they were second-class citizens. But it was strategic for social engineering. They wanted a society in which the children would have to figure things out on their own. With the father working and the mother out there, the state can raise the children for social engineering. And they tried to make a woman feel as if she was losing something or missing something.
Ladies, there's a new housewife in
weak.
town.
If she aspired to have a career in raising her family.
September 26th on ABC.
You rolling? What happened on 9/11 is a phony, and we've never learned the truth about 9/11. The whole agenda is to create a one world government where everybody has an RFID chip implanted in them. All money is to be in those chips, And this is given me straight from Rockefeller himself. This is what they want to accomplish. Aaron, what do you think women's liberation was about? We, the Rockefellers, funded that. We funded women's lib. They do whatever they want to do. What we want doesn't matter anymore. It's their agenda, it's their plans that matter. They have all the money they want. They can make all the money they want. They have a machine that can make all the money. It's not about money. It's about control. It's about their vision of how they want to see the world. You hear George Bush saying democracy means freedom. No. Democracy equals New World Order. I believe God put me on this earth to be the best person I could be, and put everybody on this earth to be the best they can be. You have to stand up for what's right in life. And unless you do that, you're nothing.
Now, why am I going here? I'm going to show you how this comes around full circle. One moment. We all heard about the Tuskegee experiment, right? Tuskegee syphilis experiment. We all talk about it, but what we don't talk about is the science of targeting our women reproduction organs through science and inoculation. This is science and direct. What they don't tell us about this experiment is that this is biological warfare, shooting stuff into a man that they know could be dealing with women that would make women what? Have issues bringing forth children eventually.
In the 1930s, the United States was ravaged by syphilis. This sexually transmitted infection afflicted nearly 1 in 10 Americans, producing painful sores and rashes that persisted for roughly 2 years. After these initial symptoms, late-stage syphilis was known to cause organ damage, heart and brain disorders, and even blindness. It was incredibly difficult to slow the disease's spread. Experts cautioned against unprotected sex, but the infection could also be passed during childbirth. Worse still, existing treatments like mercury and bismuth were considered unreliable at best and potentially harmful at worst. Today, these heavy metals are classified as toxic, but at the time, doctors were still uncovering their dangerous side effects. Amidst the uncertainty, healthcare professionals had 2 key questions. Did late-stage syphilis warrant the risks of existing treatments? And did the infected individual's race change how the disease progressed? Many physicians were convinced syphilis affected the neurological systems of white patients and the cardiovascular systems of black patients. There was little evidence for this theory, but the U.S. Public Health Service was determined to investigate further. In 1932, they launched a massive experiment in Tuskegee, Alabama. The town had already possessed a small hospital, and the area was home to a large population of potential participants. The PHS collaborated with local doctors and nurses to recruit roughly 400 black men presumed to have non-contagious late-stage syphilis, as well as 200 non-syphilitic black men for their control group. But their recruitment plan centered on a lie. While the researchers planned to observe how syphilis would progress with minimal treatment, participants were told they would receive free drugs and care for their condition. At first, researchers gave the men existing treatments, but these were soon replaced with placebos. Under the false pretense of providing a special remedy, researchers performed painful and invasive spinal taps to investigate the disease's neurological consequences. When patients died, the PHS would swoop in to study the body by funding funerals in exchange for autopsies. In their published studies, they listed the men as volunteers to obscure the circumstances under which they'd been recruited. Outside Alabama, syphilis treatment was advancing. A decade after the study began, clinical trials confirmed that penicillin effectively cured the disease in its early stages. But in Tuskegee, researchers were determined to keep pursuing what they considered vital research. They had yet to confirm their theories about racial difference, and they believed they would never have another opportunity to observe the long-term effects of untreated syphilis. The study's leadership decided to withhold knowledge of new treatments from their subjects. During World War II, researchers convinced the local draft board to exempt men from their study, preventing them from enlisting and potentially accessing penicillin. The study even continued through the 1950s when penicillin was shown to help manage late-stage syphilis. By today's bioethical standards, withholding treatment in a research study without a patient's informed consent is morally abhorrent. But for a large part of the 20th century, this practice was not uncommon. In the 1940s, U.S.-led studies in Guatemala infected numerous prisoners, sex workers, soldiers, and mental health patients with sexually transmitted infections to study potential treatments. And other studies throughout the 50s and 60s saw doctors secretly infecting patients with viral hepatitis and even cancer cells. Eventually, researchers began objecting to these unjust experiments. In the late 1960s, an STI contact tracer named Peter Buxton convinced the PHS to consider ending the study. But after leadership decided against it, Buxton sent his concerns to the press. In July of 1972, an expose of the Tuskegee study made headlines across the country. Following public outcry, a federal investigation, and a lawsuit, the study was finally shut down in 1972, 40 years after it began, and 30 after a treatment for syphilis had been found. No evidence of any racial difference was discovered. When the study ended, only 74 of the original 600 men were alive. 40 of their wives and 19 of their children had contracted syphilis, presumably from their husbands and fathers. In the wake of this tragedy and concerns about similar experiments, Congress passed new regulations for ethical research and informed consent. But systemic racism continues to permeate medical care and research throughout the U.S. To truly address these issues, the need for structural change, better access to care, and transparency in research remains urgent.
Through eugenics, like Lawyer mentioned, they would use science to target women for biological warfare against a society. It has nothing to do with man or woman. It has something to do with the weakness of man. The weakness of man, and using women as biological weapons. It happened during the Vietnam War, where the Vietnamese would do what? Infect the woman, their women with syphilis, and send them in, later on, send them in amongst the army troops to get them sick with the disease, to make them weak enough to be conquered by the Viet Cong. Biological warfare. This was the plan, folks. Right? Now I'm going to show you where it goes. Why am I going here? If you push liberation, separation of family, that would leave more women without a tradition, without a legacy to bring forth. And they'll be single out there dealing with whoever they would like. Understanding that women exponentially outnumber men. Right? So what happens if this science progress from one shot to all the way up to the shots we have today, with the plan of depopulation, sterilization, infertility? You would need a liberated society to have all these people dealing with one another in adultery, sin, fornication, to infect and spread a disease all over the earth to a point where the government would need to do what? Order and rendition. Where it'll get out of hand to the point where it's destroyed inwardly, and that civilization could no longer survive. Look at your screen. How many people today are on Instagram? 1.386 billion. Instagram. Facebook Messenger, 1.3 billion. Instagram has become a place where what? Harlotry or selling yourself has become legal without them telling the population. Why is God allowing this? Huh? Here we go. Here we go. Here we go. Let's go. Let me get this out of the way here. Hold on, folks. Let me get this out of the way. Tinder has risen to fame in less than a decade of registering and presence in the online dating world. Ranking among the most popular dating apps today makes it even sexier. In correlating Tinder statistics, we considered how long Tinder been around, Tinder demographics, usage statistics, how to compare with other apps, and so much more, right? Now, but when you go into the statistics, there are 57 million Tinder users, 62% of which are male, and only 10.3% which subscribe to Tinder Plus and Tinder Gold. Now, brothers and sisters, Tinder is a place where people go to find people to be with. And the majority of people are going there is for relation. Not only that, not just the majority, all of them. Tinder is available over 40 different languages and all, but it talks about this, folks. Just think about this. 57 million Tinder users. 1.3, almost 1.4 billion Instagram users. Now I understand why they call the next generation Generation Z. That's the end of the alphabet. Because when I was growing up, the only choice you had was the people you know, either on your block or you met in school. Just imagine someone has the privacy of their home without any judgment to deal with anyone they want at any time without anyone finding out. And you're liberated. That means all people are connected and are dealing with each other all over the earth, especially within the United States, and at the same time, people are getting inoculations. So if you think syphilis was something, folks, the data isn't even out yet.
Or not.
What's to come from the experiment we are currently under?
Users to get their COVID-19 vaccinations with juvenile
It was all about, I'm going to tell you, depopulation.
Back that thing up.
So people want to ask, Elder Lawyer, why is God allowing this?
Vaccinated, entertaining, it certainly is, and hopefully.
America had a standard. The world had a standard. We as Israelites has had a standard and opportunity. And the people have chosen their side. And they have chosen death. They have chosen suicide. And this is what you choose when you choose freedom, or what they call liberty, over a standard. Over a standard. And this is why the Bible tells us. Now, is this to absolve man? No, why do you think man is 63% of those that are on Tinder? So they may be hiding in the dark or think that no one is seeing them or they're getting away with it, but eventually they will become carriers. And there's people that are dealing with this stuff private, online and all that, and they're going to be carrying stuff back to their family members. And the woman is going to be bringing things back to who she's with. And we're going to have an infertile sterility problem all through the earth with people dying off with no cause in sight for why they're being disappeared. We're in it already. So Satan set up a system in anonymity, total privacy, to have people operate knowing how impulsive mankind can be if given the chance without anyone judging them. Oh man, how maniacal. Lead us not into temptation. Deliver us from evil. What? They knew that man and woman could not resist partaking or biting that fruit, especially if no one's looking. But still, in this virtual world, all people have connected themselves and have dealt with each other.
The tycoons of social media have to stop pretending that they're friendly nerd gods building a better world and admit they're just tobacco farmers in t-shirts, selling an addictive product to children. Because let's face it, checking your likes is the new smoking. Philip Morris just wanted your lungs. The App Store wants your soul.
There are 2 billion people, more than 2 billion people on Facebook. That's more than it's about the number of notional followers of Christianity. People check their phones 150 times a day, the millennial sort of audience. And so if you think about it, from the moment you wake up, it's like you're jacked in to this environment. And thoughts start streaming into your head, designed by a few technology companies.
What we find is the typical person checks their phone every 15 minutes or less. And half of the time they check their phone, there's no alert, no notification. It's coming from inside their head telling them, gee, I haven't checked in Facebook in a while. I haven't checked on this Twitter feed for a while. I wonder if somebody commented on my Instagram post. That then generates cortisol, and it starts to make you anxious. And eventually your goal is to get rid of that anxiety, so you check in.
And apparently we feel stressed when we can't get our phone or when our battery is about to die. You probably know this feeling. And a research done in Australia among 3,000 people under the age of 30 found that 9 out of every 10 admit to feel this anxiety while having his battery dying.
Steve Jobs revolutionized the entire world with the iPhone, and he never let his children use it, because he did not want them dependent on technology.
Right now, an infant is getting their first laptop that's soft and squishy and makes noise. Right now, a child is being born online and being favorited and retweeted.
The hypergenerational segregation of our time is bizarre, unhealthy, and historically unprecedented. You've never seen the like of people sitting at a table in a restaurant not talking to each other because they're texting and using their Facebook and Instagram and Twitter, and they are at the table and don't even know each other, in the house and can't even talk to each other. And the pressure that's on us to be like everybody else is so great that everybody tries to live like they're in a reality show.
As a culture, we don't have enough in common anymore. And that's because the internet, which was supposed to unite the world, has become too adept at serving us personalized content. Do you know what I saw on Yahoo's front page this morning? No, you don't, because mine isn't the same as yours. People get news feeds now that just spit back customized stories based on what we've clicked on in the past.
We are great consumers, but poor producers. We will buy what we can't afford with money that we don't have to impress people we don't even know, trying to be like everybody else. Get off of Facebook and put your face in a book.
Right now, a teenager is photoshopping their selfie because as a society, we're telling them they're not good enough. Right now, influencers encourage narcissism without knowing the breadth and depth of their impact on their audiences. Right now, 40,000 spectators are in an Olympic football arena watching a competitive esports competition because this is this generation's football match.
There's always this narrative that technology is neutral and it's up to us to choose how we use it. This is just not true. Technology is not neutral. It's not neutral. They want you to use it in particular ways and for long periods of time because that's how they make their money.
You don't realize it, but you are being programmed. It was unintentional, but now you got to decide how much you're willing to give up, how much of your intellectual independence. If you feed the beast, that beast will destroy you. If you push back on it, we have a chance to control it and rein it in. And it is a point in time where people need to hard break from some of these tools and the things that you rely on. The short-term dopamine-driven feedback loops that we have created are destroying how society works. No civil discourse, no cooperation, misinformation, mistruth. And it's not an American problem. This is not about Russian ads. This is a global problem.
I challenge everyone to try going 1 week without social media.
Don't let your phone and social media control you.
Elder Lawyer, why did the Bible says what does the Apocrypha or the Bible says about liberty? About liberty. The woman liberation.
Yes, sir.
What does the Bible, let me tell you, the woman liberation is against God. It's against God. It's nothing to do with someone being controlling, verbally. They done came up with the verbal abuse now.
Our freedom.
Has nothing to do with that. It was really about being free to do what I want to do without judgment.
They are not prepared.
Without anyone saying anything. Let's read that real quick.
My king, the Europeans wish to conquer us.
Yes, sir. Sirach or Ecclesiasticus chapter 26, verse number 10.
And because hold up now, I'm going to show you how that works on the other side. With the men.
Asking me to take them to war.
Because women liberation stated that let women be liberated from man, which is against God in of itself. But then it only allowed more women who are free to have access to men who were married. And then it becomes secular.
Train hard, fight harder.
Right?
Fear no one.
There's too many women compared to the number of men. And now man is seeing all this opportunity that wasn't there before because at one time, people were attached to other people. So it becomes secular. The temptation is there because a man is starting to look at the numbers and saying, well, for every one of me, there's 4 or 5 of them. And I don't have to incentivize myself with them because I can go on Tinder or something and get the benefits of marital relations without worrying about the commitment or the financial fallout to divorce a woman. Right?
We are the homie.
So it's secular. The woman liberation was so evil because it wasn't just against the woman. It was now with the men having options they didn't have before. Lead us not into temptation. To a degree where the whole melting pot, everyone is dealing with everyone else, and they're all connected under a hive mind controlled through Satan. And these are the people who are confused to what's going on today. And 9 times out of 10, these are the people who have taken the juice and are spreading all types of stuff one amongst another right now. Where now,
or not.
you have to ask, you have not only teach your sons and daughters what's going on with the Most High, you have to warn them that they cannot even sleep with somebody unless they know the medical history. The medical history, or you can't even marry a person
and encourage more black young
unless you know the medical history of whether or not they've taken the juice.
And hopefully, it'll get more people vaccinated.
That's how bad liberty is. Let's read that real quick, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir. Sirach, chapter 26, verse number 10.
Come on.
If thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself.
Matter of fact, because we have a delay, I'm going to let you read it all the way out and then I'll break it down.
Yes, sir. If thy daughter be shameless, keep her in straitly, lest she abuse herself through overmuch liberty.
Lest she abuse herself through what?
Overmuch liberty.
Lest she abuse herself with what?
Overmuch liberty.
Overmuch liberty. The Most High knew in scriptures what would happen if women were liberated under government. It would destroy the future of family. You can't be liberated from whom the Most High took you out of. So you had men who sought themselves to be liberated from God, and you have women who sought to become liberated from the man, in which if it wasn't for the man, the woman being taken out of the man, she would not exist. So now we have come to the apex of it all. We have come to the end of it all. To why God is allowing this now, folks. Because there's another phase going into the mark of the beast in the metaverse, where those that are online are chopping at the bit to leave reality into another mental universe, not realizing, listen to me clearly, and I'm going to prove this in the academy in the gates of hell. They are opening up the gates of hell, and people will be entering the gates of hell through the metaverse. Through the metaverse. And see, our children are already used to fighting crazy and weird looking creatures and all that online and all that, and seeing these weird creations that are really hell creatures. And when they get in that metaverse, that virtual reality, and guess what? It's not going to be like it is here, where you can play a game, lose your life, and hit the restart button. Okay? And we're going to hear about people on games and all that losing their lives and all of that. And they're going to claim it was the C word, it was the virus. let me tell you, the majority of the people that are going to be dying in this country and throughout the world will be through the technology they're using first before the war. Because what they're doing now is working perfect. People are taking the stuff, the Jews, people are entering into the metaverse, and on top of that, they're dealing with one another, not realizing a judgment is coming.
It's the week of greatness. What you doing? Nah, man. This is the real thing.
Here we go.
Classic. Back that thing up.
Are you? You want to know what the end of the world looks like? Huh? Hey, Elder Lawyer, we don't have an academy tomorrow, but I think this kind of covers some of that, the spirit of what we be dealing with in the academy, right?
What alternate universe is this?
Right.
What planet did I wake up in?
What has this world come to? People
Why is God allowing this? Because this is what people want.
There is now a push to normalize pedophilia.
It's going to be marketed to children. It's going to sexualize children. It's going to tell girls they can be boys, boys they can be girls. And it's the same kids that they just forced to watch the Cardi B softcore porn video. And so this is just a big...
Let's go, they trust in death and stay there on.
Yes, sir.
This is what they want. And only a few more, Elder Lawyer. I need you to also get Thessalonians 2.
Mm-hmm.
No, they trust in oppression and stay there on. Let's go there.
Yes, sir. Yep. Isaiah 30 and 12.
Yep.
Isaiah 30, verse number 12. Wherefore thus saith the Holy One of Israel, because ye despise his word, and trust in oppression and perverseness, and stay thereon.
And stay thereon. Now, I need you to hold that and go to, this is where we are in time to why the Most High is really judging the whole earth and has decreed a judgment from the heavens against Babylon in particular. Let's go to Romans 1 real quick, Elder Lawyer. And I need you to go where it says, start at the 28th verse. And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, because they didn't want to set...
Yes, sir.
Because America and others didn't want to uphold the standard they claimed they would uphold when they founded this country. That they would push laws, equitable laws, according to the standards of our Bible. Let's read it.
Yes, sir.
Romans 1
and 28.
1 and 28. Let's read it. A matter of fact, let's start 28.
And even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do those things which are not convenient.
Because we didn't put God first, to teach our children the importance of making sure he's prioritized first. Because we didn't want to retain God in our knowledge when it comes to the law, statutes, and commandments he gave us after being delivered out of Egypt. And even, let's say, white people who colonized the country. You came over as Christians, upheld the Bible. You were saying that you was going to not only rule and teach your family according to these principles, that you would convey those principles even to other races of people within the country, like slaves, North American Indians. That was the agreement, that we would at least agree on the standards, even if we were segregated.
You a child of God. You got purpose. The law put it there, and nobody can take it away.
Because when we begin to allow sin to fester unchecked by God's law, it destroys societies, not just families. We're at the end of civilization as we know it, folks. There was rules of engagement. They just didn't come over and enslave people and do all this. Nah, there had to be a moral component that they would agree on to establish such a country. Because if it's just evil and wickedness against a people, eventually the people will join together and destroy the place before it had an opportunity to begin. So they had to come with some similitude, a trade-off, when it comes to setting up a moral standard that all of us could agree with, regardless of race. And it was the Bible. So, so it says, and even as they did not like to retain God in their knowledge, God gave them over to a reprobate mind to do all those things which are not convenient. Because you don't want to check with God first, you're confused to what's going on right now. You're taking the juice, you're becoming sterile, you're coming infertile, you're falling out by heart attacks, your whole family's sick, everyone's going crazy because you didn't seek God first. And you became reprobate. Reprobate is a broke mind where now we have people walking without the conscience at all. They're just doing whatever they want to do. Whatever that makes them feel good, not realizing the consequences of it. Well, yeah, I don't care. As long as I get the bag, listen, the bag is going to be done. No society, no bag. And what benefit is it to gain the world and lose your soul? What benefit is it to get a bag and lose your soul? Finish reading, Elder Lawyer.
Verse 29. Being filled with all unrighteousness, fornication, wickedness, covetousness, maliciousness, full of envy, murder, debate, deceit, malignity, whisperers, backbiters, haters of God, despiteful, proud, boasters, inventors of evil things, disobedient to parents, without understanding, covenant breakers, without natural affection, implacable, unmerciful,
I kill my kids.
Who knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death.
Are worthy of
not
what?
Only do the same.
Hold up. Hold up, Elder Lawyer. Why is God allowing this? Read.
Knowing the judgment of God, that they which commit such things are worthy of death. Not only do the same, but have pleasure in them that do them.
So it's not enough that people are doing wickedness. You have people who have pleasure in teaching others to do wickedness. They're having pleasure in seeing the whole society erode. If not so, parents wouldn't allow alternative lifestyles and all this other stuff being taught in school.
They look like
they would understand
and queens.
the gravity of allowing someone who's demented to push an ideology against the standard of God. They would understand the gravity of allowing that.
When I first heard about it, I
Sick
was just
people
like,
in
where can I
authority
sign
positions
up?
because
And
what?
I
They
was
got a
one of the
degree?
first few girls who started Drag Queen Story Hour in New York City. So when I put on my wig on my dress,
Where you would
like,
have
I'm
a
ready to go
talk
save the
show.
world.
We'd have a man, woman, and you'd have something that you don't know what it is talking about. It's both.
Natural fit. It's like one of those
With an
ideas that's just
equal-
so good that I'm
with an
shocked that no
equal
one had thought of it
opinion.
sooner.
So what do you think a drag queen is?
That the panel
queen of
should
dragon.
respect.
We really
Why?
are. We entertain.
So we have
people that
allowed
think
this.
We are funny. We're like clowns, but prettier.
When I say
And I
we,
can
I'm
hang
just
out with
speaking
people
as a
like you.
whole
Isn't that awesome?
because I'm here in the earth right now with you all, but I chose to serve God. I will never sit on a panel where I can have an equal moral argument or discussion with something that's saying they're both as if that person has merit when it comes to the discussion. The whole time I'm going to be looking at the thing and saying, what the Hades is this? And that's where I'm going to be going. What do God have to say about you, dude?
She hates me.
Who's not satisfied with how God made you? with
I
a
know this
purpose.
because she's told me several times. We fight.
Hades with this discussion. Who's that guy with the
And
dress
that's not
on?
the only thing she says. That I'm beastly. That
The world has
I'm
gone
her
mad,
son.
and
I will
now the
never be
whole
the
earth
daughter
thinks
that-
it's funny,
So why are you here
and it's
today?
a joke,
I'm here
and having
today because I
pleasure
wanna
in
get married.
allowing society to erode where there's nothing left for our children. So the Most High is saying, well, listen,
Oftentimes
it's
it's
over.
good
This
to
is
have
Sodom
someone
and
in
Gomorrah,
mind,
and the days of Noah wrapped
I've
up
been
in
talking
one.
to this guy
Let
online
them
for a
suicide
couple months
themselves.
now.
Yeah.
And
But
And what was it like
but
when
when
you
this
first
go,
met him then?
but when it comes to a point
Well,
where
I've
it's
never met him in
affecting
person.
those who love me, I will intervene. I'm moving my people out of this.
Bring them out to us, that we may know them.
And this is why the Most High is allowing this to happen, folks. This is why God is allowing this, because this is what the people want.
Burning sulfur rained down from the sky.
And we're at the end
The raging fire
of the
lit up
Jubilee
the heavens.
that God gave us in Genesis 6, folks. We are at the end of it. The timestamp I discussed earlier in the video, we're right here at the end of it. Elder Lawyer, last scripture before I make one more announcement. Let's read Matthew 6:26, that one precept, and let's get 2 Thessalonians, the second chapter.
Yeah.
No, Matthew 16:26, Elder Lawyer. 16.
Yes, sir. Matthew 16, verse number 26.
Yes.
For what is a man profited if he shall gain the world and lose his soul?
Read that again.
Or what shall a man? For what is a man profited if he gain the world and lose his soul?
What if a man?
Or what shall a?
What profit a man that he would gain the world and lose his soul? One thing America has afforded, even in its immorality, is opportunity. If someone would have an idea to entrepreneurialize, to be an entrepreneur, then it can be accomplished. But while you're doing all this, what's of our family? What's of our children? What's of our future according to prophecy? Not to say those things shouldn't be sought after, but there should be a balance. God first, mission first. Because a lot of us believe that I can't serve God and go chase the bag too. I have to make my life right, and I got to go chase the bag. And when I get it, then I'm going to do good for my people. How long have we been saying that? How long have we been lying to ourselves? Look how many basketball players, entertainers, and all that, like I've mentioned a few weeks ago, with enough money to buy a whole country for us to live better in. How many of them said once they get out of the hood, they coming back to change things? It's a lie. It's all self-grandizing. It's all doing it so that you're not guilty. When you're out there thinking the angels aren't watching, serving Satan. And this is what Christ says. Christ says, what good is to gain the world and lose your what? Read it, Elder Lawyer. Read both parts.
What is a man profited if he shall gain the world and lose his soul?
And lose
Or what shall a man
soul.
give?
I'm sorry, go ahead.
Or what shall a man give in exchange for his soul?
And what shall a man give in exchange for his soul? You have a choice to make. And that's why I went back to the standard first, because brothers and sisters might ask, okay, I've messed up. I didn't know this growing up. Exactly where I can begin at this point in my life to get back on path with the God that made us, knowing that one day he'll see me. The same God who called me into this earth will call me before him in judgment. What must I do? Set up a standard. Go back to that standard that covenant, that agreement, that believe it or not, that even Christ himself consecrated with his own blood, that would give us an opportunity to know in these last days, we are beyond any shadow of a doubt, the true children of Israel. Christ shed his blood so that spirit could come one day and get us out of this grave and stand up as God's people, as we once stood before in ancient times. So that covenant just didn't start with our forefathers. It was consecrated in heaven through Christ's, Yeshua's sacrifice for us. So it's time for us to instill the covenant. Come back to the standard, which will be our protection, while the whole world, that's right, get renditioned. It's all prophesied. We can look at the diabolical works of Fauci and Bill Gates and eugenics and all the social engineering that these demons are behind. But at the end of the day, folks, there's individual choice. There's individual choice that has nothing to do with none of the men, any of the men I've just mentioned. Right? Setting up a standard. Last scripture, Elder Lawyer.
Yes, sir.
I need you to go to 2 Thessalonians. Okay. All praises be to the Most High. We're back. I know y'all probably would believe it, but the whole thing went, a blue screen popped up and the computer was gone. So we know how that works. But I'm glad through the Spirit of the Most High, brothers and sisters, we were able to get through the majority of the lesson. Well, really all of it. Elder Lawyer, let's pick it up from the last place we were. In Thessalonians, the book of Thessalonians. Okay. 2 Thessalonians.
Yes, sir.
2 Thessalonians, the 5th chapter, the 7th verse. Why is God allowing this? The end, part 2. Let's read.
2 Thessalonians chapter 2, verse 5. Remember ye not that when I was yet with you, I told you these things.
Paul said, remember when I was yet with you, I told you these things. Read.
And now ye know what withholdeth that he might be revealed in his time.
Come on.
For the mystery of iniquity doeth already work.
The mystery of iniquity. The mystery of iniquity doeth already work. Read.
Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way.
Until he be taken out of the way. So brothers and sisters, don't look for one antichrist man to pop up. That's a lie. The mystery of iniquity was working during the Roman Empire's time. Satan. That's the antichrist. Rome. The antichrist government. Okay? Read.
It happened so suddenly. This man
Verse 8.
to power.
And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the...
A matter of fact, Elder Lawyer, I need you to read the 7th verse again to why God is allowing this.
Yes, sir. Verse 7. For the mystery of iniquity doeth yet already work. Only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way.
Only he who letteth will let until that demon, that fallen evil Satan is taken out of the way. That's why the Most High is allowing this, because it isn't time yet. More prophecies must be fulfilled. A cashless society in which no man can buy or sell unless they have the mark of Satan must be what? Established. The last war that would lead to the great earthquake must be established. Why? Because it was prophesied these things would happen. So that's a space of some years we have before the judgment. Okay, everything the Most High said in old times in the Bible, when his word go out, it doesn't come back void. So he's bound by his word. So it's not like he's going to cut this short because the earth has become more evil, more wicked. No. He has a time stamp in which he would judge the earth. But still, there's other prophecies that must be fulfilled according to his word. And the Most High is letting them operate. So he can so that all the people that are being led by the evil spirits can be taken with them. Okay, that can be taken with the evil who have taught mankind wickedness. Read on.
Verse 7. For the mystery of iniquity doeth already work, only he who now letteth will let until he be taken out of the way.
Come on.
And verse 8. And then shall that wicked be revealed, whom the Lord shall consume with the spirit of his mouth, and shall destroy with the brightness of his coming.
Come on.
Even him whose coming is after the working of Satan, with all power and signs and lying wonders.
And when it says workings after Satan, because he set up the synagogue of Satan to do his will on earth. Those who say they are, like Revelations 2:9. Those who say they are us and are not, but are the synagogue of Satan. At the end, we'd realize that they weren't the people at all. That they were really the ministers of Satan establishing his systems against God's people, against us. Read.
Verse 10. And with all deceivableness of unrighteousness in them that perish, because they receive not the love of the truth,
Read.
that they might be saved.
That they might be saved. Read.
Verse 11. And for this cause God shall send them strong delusion, that they should believe a lie.
Exactly. This is why God is allowing this. Since they didn't want to follow God or retain God in their knowledge, he has sent them strong delusion that they may believe a lie. And folks, all of the people who didn't add God into their knowledge and established a standard, who don't believe in God, the God of the Bible, or isn't trusting in the Bible, guess what, folks? They believe the lie that's being expounded, that is being straight up pushed through media right now.
This vaccine is safe. And this is our way out.
He shall send them strong delusion, since they didn't want to follow me, that they may believe a lie. And that's what's happening right now. Everyone is drinking the juice, believing the lie, because they didn't want to believe in the God who told them
something like $17 billion, but you think
to set a standard for their family.
You're okay. You're not going to
Read on.
get COVID if you have these vaccinations.
These vaccines that they all might be damned who believe not the truth, but have pleasure in unrighteousness.
That had pleasure in
unrighteousness. Themselves, but
so there you go. You want to know why God is allowing this? Well, this is why.
To get back to normal.
Get your first shot,
because
and when
the
you're due
people
for your second,
have chose death.
Our key goal is
at
to
the end
stop
of it,
the transmission, to get the immunity
at
levels
the end
up,
of
so
it,
that
the Most High are trying the righteous for those who will be saved to establish the kingdom that will soon be built here on earth. But that's after the fallout. With that, I would like to say thank you all. I apologize. I had no control over that thing being cut out. The computer just went blank, and I understand why. But brothers and sisters, I appreciate all the support and everything you do to support this work and be here to build in the spirit of the Almighty towards the kingdom of heaven. And all you do to support the Gathering of Christ Church, I thank you. And stay prayed up, set the standard in your home going forward. Pray, acknowledge the Almighty. Be grateful for life and all he has blessed you with. And show forth your gracious appreciation by how we treat and love one another. The time is running short. A matter of fact, we're almost out of it. But hey, It was prophesied. And I ask you all, brothers and sisters, as the day grow near, to continue to support this work, to make sure this word go out, not just to you who need it, but brothers and sisters who cannot receive it right now. All right. We have people in Africa all over the place that eventually we have to get to who don't have computers. All right. So continue to support this work. OK, right here on the screen, it tells you how to support it right up under here. And it'd be great if we break the threshold. We break the number. If we get past the numbers that we had in our prior academy, and that's on you to make sure you go to historytimes.org, because that really helps us out, and become a part of the knowledge on the next level that can only be expounded through that academy. Okay, the Hebrew and Bible Academy. Okay. Thank you. Stay prayed up. Sin not. We will soon see Zion. Thank you, Elder Lloyd.
You're hurting from the grace you borrow. Nothing ever comes from sorrow. You're broken from the weight of your sin.